Booth podcast, and this is our crew: me, Powers, Pat's Boy, and Arrow
Yo.
Aaron.
Hey guys.
Evening, gentlemen.
And ladies, just in case. So our
I was
no, go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say I was just referring to the us in the booth, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll just have some few topics that we don't want to talk about. I'm going to our first thing we want to talk about. How do we get into esports and the group we're in on GRL? First, I will ask is Pat's Boy. Hey, what's up?
Not much.
Damaged. You're joining as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just watching something on YouTube.
Okay. So, Pat's Boy, how did you get into esports, mostly GRL? And
Yeah, so it really started in March of the pandemic. I've been playing with my longtime Xbox friend, Boy NASCAR. And he actually brought me into this world kind of. I was in GRL from pretty close to the beginning, and I kind of noticed that he was doing competitive racing every week, so I was like, hey, might as well give it a try, and been doing that ever since.
Not bad. You, Aaron?
In terms of esports stuff, it's kind of just been. I think I tried out. My buddy Roadkill and I took part in a league. Probably back in March or so, maybe April of last year. Got into Arrow a couple months after that, and then I was introduced to GRL, which I've kind of made a bit more of my home for now. So,
You damaged?
I'm assuming we're sticking strictly with racing esports.
Well, how we got into GRL and stuff like that, mostly.
GRL wise, I was just trying to. I think was looking into other leagues while because my team was mainly just gonna be, I guess, a Torah Endurance Championship team. But I've seen as how there were several, like maybe 2-month gaps in between, except for Torah Homestead and Torah Le Mans, which was just like maybe a month. I figured we're trying to find other leagues to join, and coming across, I think GRL was obviously one of them. And yeah, been in. I think this was around March as well this year. But I've been meaning. But yeah, I've been wanting to do the racing thing since March of 2020 as well, trying to get into Torah Sebring, but never had enough people to be on the team. So I had to just, call it quits for that until earlier this year.
Hmm. Pretty good answers. Me as myself got in as well during pandemic. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what everyone I got in as well as March, but I joined GRL late September. I just had my own league, but it didn't work out too well.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting how the whole pandemic kind of opened up this whole opportunity for, I guess, really, it sounds like all of us staying at esports. I think that's a pretty cool thing we got going right there.
yeah.
Yeah. I think also because it got me away from job, and I started just quit streaming really.
Yeah.
And it's not really even just limited to esports as well. It's like the pandemic is definitely, well, obviously it's limited us in terms of our outdoor abilities and whatnot. I feel like it's offered us a bunch more online opportunities as well. Like for instance, coming up probably about a year ago now, it would have been. I had noticed that IndyCar driver Joseph Newgarden had been actually hopping on Forza doing a couple live streams. So I figured, why not give it a shot and race a real life 2-time IndyCar champion.
Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of interesting that you brought that up. Sorry about that, Powers.
Very fine.
I've been kind of watching esports racing, as in Forza and that type of thing, for most of my life. Watching people like, I don't know if you guys know TC9700 race gaming.
Yeah.
He was one of the first ones I watched. Then I got into AR12 gaming, who've basically watched ever since then. He's been a pretty big one to watch, and yeah, he's kind of made it always interesting to watch. These racing games and how competitive they can be, how fun they can be, and kind of like how big of a platform they can be too. Because he's been making a good amount of money on it. He's been having a lot of fun with it as well. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I agree with that as well. I think watching YouTube, starting out watching YouTubers and stuff, but I agree with Aaron on his statement. Like, the pandemic has brought a lot of us in. I mean, if it didn't happen, we wouldn't have had Giro and stuff like this at this type of level and viewing level. I was trying to do gaming. I had played racing, but not the consistency and streaming and doing all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was definitely into league racing a little bit before GRL, but like you mentioned, nothing to this scale. And yeah, I would definitely say the pandemic definitely played a role in that. And obviously, I kind of came into the GRL as this noob to e-racing, and I've been blessed to be able to work my way up the ladder all the way up to an admin, and obviously, of course, the PSSN team, which has been really fun as well.
Yeah. Damage, you have something to say as well?
Really, even before all this pandemic thing, I really wasn't affected by this, because with this pandemic, really, it's interesting to hear y'all say it, because really my life, even before the pandemic, was basically just the same as it was when the pandemic hit. It was just like working part-time in a grocery store. Most of my time is just spent in my room playing different video games and stuff like that. So my life really wasn't affected that much.
Yeah, the thing is with mine, I kind of made the choice. I just didn't see the suit at my job anymore. It just didn't work out for me. I decided to just stream just for fun, and it's been working pretty well for me. I just have fun doing it instead of other things I was doing, working hard and doing other stuff. I actually have more opportunity to be at home, so I mean, it's fun for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Streaming, has been on the uprise recently, and I think if you keep working at it, I think you big dividends coming out of this, and I think that's a beautiful thing to be able to say that you stream for a living.
Yeah, that would be fun, but also trying to help bring the wider broadcast to understand that there's more Forza stuff and people that actually do racing like this for fun. I mean, it'll be more opportunity. Everyone else is only see esports as of like the big events and stuff like that. There's more things out there. I mean, you have Jimmy Broadbent and all the others that already do it, but to show it in a group area like this, it shows more wider prospect or perspective.
Yeah.
I say.
And not just racing either, but some of those other types of games.
Yeah.
The first person shooters. Obviously Call of Duty is one of the biggest games out there when it comes to the esports thing that immediately sprung to mind, with all those many teams, FaZe and Optic and all of those. So I knew about esports for a while, and of knew about iRacing too for a little bit, but that was only maybe recently.
But yeah, iRacing, I've been watching that since like 2013, but since the pandemic, they actually have more backing, especially I just do with the NASCAR Pro Invitationals and stuff like that.
It's kind of It's kind of interesting that you bring that up, because that's another thing that kind of opened up for me during the pandemic. I was never this much in depth into real life racing, NASCAR, endurance racing. I've told my friend, obviously, I mentioned before, Budboy. He really got me into NASCAR again. I haven't watched NASCAR before this year in probably upwards of 7 years. So this pandemic kind of opened a door for me in that respect as well. Watching NASCAR, getting into IndyCar again, and all those types of things, and that's been really fun for me as well.
Yeah, I've been watching NASCAR my whole life, but as seen as how I've seen from the outside watching, you said for 7 years, so you haven't been watching since 2014.
Yeah, it's been a
I've been
minute.
pretty much been watching it for quite a while and seeing it as how, unless seeing as how what the current product they have and stuff, and it was just like not getting any better until hopefully the Gen 7 car comes around. I was trying to look into watching other racing series, like wanting to watch the Rolex 24, wanting to watch all the other endurance races, including Le Mans and stuff like that, watching IndyCar because of Jimmy Johnson, obviously, but I've just been trying to get out of it. The only times I ever really wanted to watch it, obviously watching it this season because of Daytona 500 and some of the unique races like the Bristol Dirt Race and Coda, obviously. That's freaking that crazy to think that NASCAR racing at Coda this past weekend was just like, oh my god, like finally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I limit myself to watching certain NASCAR races, not all. I don't watch all of them.
Yeah, I agree with that idea. I've been watching it since like 2007. I hopped off 2014. I came back. I mean, it's pretty interesting, especially with this year, the variety of racing. It also helps like how we did in Forza. We did Coda before they did Coda, and now they're doing other tracks. It actually just opens up more ideas for NASCAR, especially with the next gen. Hopefully, they can do more road courses, but also
and
more
especially
sport tracks.
Bringing some old tracks. Hearing that Nashville Fairgrounds and North Wilkesboro might be coming back to NASCAR, hopefully next season. That's like holy freaking shit. They haven't raced at those kind of tracks, especially North Wilkesboro. When they last raced, I was only maybe 6 years old when they last raced there.
Well, as nice as that is, we've still got North Wilkesboro. I'm not entirely sure about. I know they're trying for Nashville, but that's not going to happen for at least 2 years as of right now.
Yeah.
And while it's still trending on the popular, if we want to just make that a topic really quick about the whole Nashville Fairground situation,
Mm-hmm.
because that's a conversation and I have to have.
Yes.
Yeah, I can understand some like the complaints some people might have regarding the noise and pollution in that area, but the main problem right now with the public in that area that's opposing this is that they're all going off of a lot of misinformation.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
because right now they're thinking that NASCAR is going to be showing up multiple times a year,
Yeah.
combined with all the other races that they currently still run, and that it's going to be happening on weekdays instead of weekends. It's a whole. There was one woman. I'm sorry. There was one woman there during the most recent board meeting, like town board meeting or whatever, about the topic, and I kid you not, she said, and I quote, "There are 5 perfectly functioning Formula One and NASCAR facilities within 20 to 30 minutes of Nashville." And just to put it into perspective, there is one Formula One facility in the U.S. Period. Currently, yes. Currently, there is only one location we go to right now. 2, if you count Miami next year.
And also possibly
3, if you
we might do it.
3 if you count IndyGP. That's a little less likely right now.
Yeah.
But the point is, those are all well outside of Nashville. Hell, they're outside of Tennessee.
Yes.
And right now, inside Tennessee, we only go to 2 tracks for NASCAR.
Yep.
Bristol and Nashville Superspeedway.
Exactly. So it's kind of hard to take their opposition seriously, and right now the good news is the board who's voting on the matter of whether or not the license goes over to the people who also run Bristol and whatnot. Right now it is still sitting at 3-1 majority for so it would technically pass right now. We'll
Yeah.
have to see at the next
Yeah.
board meeting next month, so we'll see. But
Yeah.
honestly, it's there's a lot of work that still needs to get done to make sure that people are actually informed about the situation.
Speaking of informed, you reminded me of something. Besides that, I'm gonna read the comment we have in Twitch chat. Panda says they already have 30 F1 tracks. I know, jokingly saying that, but we don't need another race. I mean, it's really up to Liberty Media and how they make money in F1. They just want more Americans to understand NASCAR, especially with the situation in 2005. Yeah, but to answer what the information, like what you're saying, people are misinformed. Reminds me like the EPA saying, because you have other people that don't see what we see as modifying with cars, they want to take that away from us. Currently in the U.S., saying modifying cars make the cars too fast and people are speeding when actually it's just the sound of the cars and stuff like that. Or they're being there's too much pollution when we're already trying to solve that with the current cars. I think with seeing it from both sides as we do, we know there's um, eco issue that we have, but we're going around that to solve it. But if you're not willing to see that with racing like NASCAR and stuff like that, noise pollution, we can solve that with actually just trying to look at our perspective first.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a whole nother like kind of like Pandora's box issue right there. Because I think their main goal with the EPA, as you mentioned, is to obviously cut down on pollution as much as possible within cars and the car community, while also maintaining a safe profile with drivers and all that stuff. And I think they feel immense pressure from obviously the public, not to make this political, but the public and other countries to make cars and stuff more green and racing as well. But I think if they were just patient with it, I think that the technology would eventually catch up where we could have greener cars and it wouldn't be as much of a problem. I
Yeah,
think
I mean,
that's kind of my stance on it.
yeah. If you look at the state of California, they said by 2030 they're going to be mostly electric cars by 50%. I mean, we're already working on it, but taking away the modification rule that we're being defended with, saying we're allowed to modify cars, but to have and say car companies like Ford and stuff like that, for example, manufacturers cannot make a modification car. It's kind of stupid. We want to
Yeah,
have different versions of different cars. So that's kind of how it is. But to take that away from us is kind of it's unfair.
Now, hang on,
right.
is this the ruling about turning road legal cars into like proper race cars and only using them for track use, or just modifying cars in general?
Yeah, they're trying to actually do that more of modifying cars in general. You can't have a different version. Like even the manufacturers are not allowed to produce um, um, an aftermarket part. Like say for instance, Hennessy, they can't make an off aftermarket part to that car. Basically, it has to be as the face car value. Say for instance, if they bought a Mustang and modified it, they're not allowed to do that. That's the new rule they're trying to do now.
The only reason I bring that up is because I know that the RPM Act was passed a couple, maybe about a week ago or so,
Yeah.
which stated that whatever Clean Air Acts that was passed in like the 70s can't be interpreted as no, you cannot change or modify your car for race use in terms of emissions. They have to go through the same emissions tests that they have been ever since they left factory and yada yada yada.
Yeah. But yeah, I just think it's more of a perspective issue, especially with the NASCAR getting other tracks. Like how we have with some tracks F1, they don't want here because it's always an issue with racing. Been a thing because there's people that don't like racing, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Next topic we can talk about is F1 over the weekend. Monaco, Verstappen wins after Leclerc does not make the start on pole because of gearbox issues. What's your take on it?
I'll let someone else take this one. I didn't really want to be honest with you.
Well, good thing I did. So, obviously, yeah, Monaco's typically your freight train where unless you pull off a miracle in the pit stops, you're not really going to change it.
Yeah.
So as soon as Verstappen got clear of Bottas or whoever was in second at the time going into Sandoval, that was basically the race done there.
Yeah, I will say though, one of the things I did hear about it is that I guess the FIA the FIA was looking into possibly doing a different setup of the Monaco Grand Prix because I think I saw that there was one pass within the 78 lap race, which I mean is kind of horrendous. But obviously Monaco is one of those special tracks that you can only pass in so many circumstances, you know.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Well, you see, personally, I really don't think modifying the track is the way to go. It's a street circuit. You can't really change the way it works unless you were to, along the route the track follows only, get rid of every single sidewalk and curb and like street curb that's in that area, and make the available racing surface another half a car width wider, which is never going to happen because A, money, and B, just other resources and time, whatever. Honestly,
yeah,
I think it's more to do with, you have to keep in mind these cars are 2 meters wide and about and they
They're
have
longer
about
than
the
straight
same.
stock cars, yeah.
Yeah, they are. I believe Martin Brundle mentioned it during the broadcast. These things have basically the same dimensions as a Range Rover,
Yep.
except lower and much faster.
Yeah.
yeah.
So personally, I think it's a matter of we need to make the cars smaller,
Which we
Yeah,
will see
and
next
then
year.
bring it
I
back.
think it'll solve
Like
itself.
I'll say
make the
about
cars
that. Yeah.
smaller, and maybe for Monaco only, institute like specific rule changes where the cars are stripped of their downforce almost entirely.
Make it like a Formula E race, basically. 'Cause
Not
they
necessarily a
did
Formula E
No,
race, because
I have
while
a
I
better
admit the Formula
alternative for
E
that.
race was at Monaco this year was brilliant.
Yeah.
However, that's obviously not the direction Formula One should go with,
I'm
where
not
it's
saying make it slow. I'm just saying like
yeah, no.
different
But
Yeah.
perspective. Like if you're close enough, you kind of have to go with the spot. They already have that rule, but it's just that the cars can't follow. Maybe next year solve itself. We'll see.
Like
again, it's all the
if I
yeah.
were to say something about that, why can't they just have them? Why can't they just have like their cars be like what they used to look like back in the late '80s, early '90s?
It's
Like I
due
feel
to
like they could pass in those back in the day.
Even then, 80s, 90s, this has not been a new problem. If you go back to, what was it, 1991 or 2, whatever the drive was, Ayrton Senna had to hold off a hard-charging Martin Brundle
Mhm.
in a much faster, I don't know what car it was,
I don't
but
remember,
he
but
held
yeah.
on for 51. The point of the matter was, 51 laps, Brundle could not make the overtake on Senna, just because A, Senna knew where to place the car, and B,
It's Monaco.
Knew there was
the,
line.
the cars were smaller than they are now, and they still couldn't pass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
It's
think
Like
I think the biggest thing, honestly, I think I agree with you, Aaron. I don't even know if they really even need to make any changes. One, because it's Monaco, and it puts a bigger stress, I think, on qualifying, and I don't think that's such a bad thing. I mean, I think that just puts more pressure on the drivers to do great in qualifying and get really good starting position, and then basically take over the race from there. Okay, well, no, that's not enough. I need to have more racing in Monaco. Then I hate to say it, you're just not a fan of Monaco. That's all it is. You just want to see more passes, and Monaco just isn't a
yeah,
track
it's
where
not.
that's a lot gonna happen.
Yeah, I
I
agree with that.
yeah. Again, I'm all for trying to improve racing as much as possible, but at some point they kind of just hit a wall, so to speak. No
Yeah.
pun intended, considering we're talking about Monaco. Uh, but it, honestly, at this point, it really is just a qualifying spectacle, and then
Yeah.
sure, turn one, and maybe if there's a safety car. But other than that, it is more of a strategy race, and
we gotta
if
come.
that's the spectacle, then so be it. We cannot change the track more than we already have in the past
Yeah.
Right.
50 some odd years of the track's existence. So
Speaking of that, we got another comment from Mystic. How to improve Monaco? Just keep it to Formula E. And one thing I find with Monaco, Formula 2 is always much more entertaining at Monaco, which is always true. I think it's because they're
Yeah,
lower in
that's-
horsepower and they're smaller. They don't have too much of aerodynamic difference. I think like we see what next year it's not going to be too much of an aerodynamic difference, but Formula 2 is a spec series. I think that will solve its issue. Maybe we don't know.
Well, again,
Yeah.
that's kind of the thing is
that's
slower cars typically mean that drivers are able to stay closer together.
Yeah.
And concerning it's a spec series, Dallara, who makes all the cars, they have the ability to then work the aerodynamics so that it still produces downforce, but it also means that they can design it so that the turbulent air coming off the back of the cars is as clean as possible, so that way they can have cars that get really close to each other going through corners.
Yeah, just like Indy, they designed Indy cars, design front to back. The Lara cars, I mean, as we see, they're able to follow through. We saw with the Indy GP. Every track IndyCar goes to, that have more overtakes than what we see with F1, because F1's more open to design and innovation. But with next year, we see just a little bit more cutting down on that. I think we might see more overtaking, because especially with liberal media saying this has to be more of an entertainment than a sport now. We'll have to see how this works for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I don't, the more I think about it, the more I just don't see any way you can change it in terms of Formula One. I just think that there's obviously the only thing you can make an argument for is, I don't know, like you said, redirecting the track somehow, but then it's just not Monaco anymore. And I
Yeah.
think that you're always going to have the issue of the track isn't wide enough for cars to go around other cars, and that's just the way it is. You're not going to be able to make the cars smaller or bigger to really change that. It's just kind of the way it is at Monaco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we do have another question from Mystic. What do you guys think of the W Series becoming an official F1 support race series like F2 and F3? I think it's a good
Oh
idea.
goodness, I completely forgotten about them. That's how insignificant they are.
Yeah, I just didn't even remember, but I think it's a good idea. I mean, why not?
Okay, look, I'm not gonna be the type of guy that says, yeah, no, women drivers are all crap, because they just aren't. However, like, if you're not good enough to get into like a normal Formula 2 series,
Go to Super
then
Formula.
there's kind of there's a reason that the greatest in the world are who they are.
Also with money, remember
And
that. Funding.
and yes, obviously funding does play a massive part in it. But who's to say that a woman can't produce the same amount of sponsorship a man can?
That's true.
And
We
if
have
that's
many
the
drivers coming through. We'll try
and
to
if
get
that's
there.
the if money is the issue, then the sponsors are the problem, not the sport itself.
Yeah,
But
that
if
opens up
but
a
if
tag
whole
that
another
statement. Say that again.
conversation.
I should tag that statement.
but
Yeah.
personally, again, I'm not against the W Series becoming a support series to Formula One. However, I do think if they really want to try making a statement in motorsport, they need to work their way into like the ones that have already been there, such as Formula 2 and Formula 3.
No, what was the other one? You said it's not F1. It's the sponsors.
You're saying if it's the money,
If
if
money is
money
the
is the
issue, it's
issue,
the if
Money is
if they're
issue.
having problems with money, it's the sponsors who are the problem and not the sport.
Okay. I
Yeah.
like that statement. I'm gonna keep that.
because obviously you can go around every sport. I think probably the biggest one besides maybe motorsport is soccer. Not to kind of change the sport, but like the likes of Megan Rapinoe and the U.S. Women's National Team have recently been making lots of statements about how women aren't getting paid enough in their sport, and
Really down
I don't know
to
how.
the viewership. Really,
But
at
you
this
see,
point.
now
Yeah,
That's
where the differences are.
Yeah, it's most
Because
important.
when it comes to motorsport, the finite the that what the sport deals with is like prize money, and that's always the same across its individual series.
Yeah.
Whereas when you look at things like soccer or whatnot, that prize money is determined by viewership.
Yep.
And so the fact that the women's team in this case is getting paid less than the men's is simply because the men's tournaments are viewed more. That's not necessarily the fault of the sport or the
It's
athletes.
the viewership, yeah.
It's just that you're not getting the same viewership.
And yeah,
That's
that's
the
not,
only issue.
I
You
guess that's
can't
the
really blame the sport for getting paid that less.
yeah, and I think you can make the argument with the Formula W that, it isn't as big because, as you mentioned, revenue,
And
and
plus, it's
it's
still
just
new.
yeah, and the drivers are just, it's kind of, I guess, maybe how Formula E started, but I think Formula E did a great job starting out. Um, Formula W just isn't up to that level, or doesn't have that competition level that, an F2 or an F3 even has.
Oh,
So I think,
go ahead, go ahead.
no, you're good.
No, it's
That's
fine.
basically
I
my
don't. I want
statement.
you to finish. I want you to finish.
But yeah, I just think their competition level isn't up to the par of a Formula 3 or a Formula 2. So I don't think that you can say that, it's not um the fault of the women, if that makes sense.
Again, if they're good enough, they'll move up into Formula 3 or Formula 2.
Right.
And if they are really good enough, they'll move up into Formula 1.
Yeah,
It's
my
just
point.
a matter of
Speaking of your statement,
it's a
here,
matter.
I was
Yeah.
just saying, Mystic was kind of basically backing up your statement here. When it comes to money, female drivers are 70% less likely to attain sponsors, as you're saying, sponsors there, to attain companies. Hence why they do their own series. And it comes down to exactly what you said. It's the sponsors that are not giving them their funding to get them through.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that there are quite a few drivers in the W series that would probably be decent enough to at least get a couple podiums in Formula 2, definitely Formula 3. Like people like forgetting names already.
Yeah,
But
I don't pay any attention to lower series.
wait, Fred. Who was um the driver from the Grand Tour? Because I know she takes part in the W series as well.
I don't.
Oh, I don't
I
know.
have a very
I haven't watched it.
um.
Let me see if I can look it up real quick.
It was Abby something.
I think I know
But
her name though.
yes. Either way, I again, if given the right opportunities to race in Formula 3 or Formula 2, she could prove it. Could very well prove to be one of the better drivers.
Yeah, I agree.
Worst case scenario, she proves that she is better than Javier Ragunathan.
I guess to kind of bring it full circle is, I guess that's kind of the hopes of Formula W joining F1, to maybe get that opportunity for these drivers who have shown complete dominance in this series to kind of move up into the next series and hopefully beyond that.
Oh yeah, here's a statement that Mystic gave. It's like you look at Jamie Chadwick, who won the championship, but she didn't have the money for an F3 or F2 seat, so she got picked by Veloce for Extreme E. Yeah, there's another reason. They just, I think, the thing is, F1 or whatever racing series as we see in NASCAR, they're more open to be diverse and stuff like that. But the companies don't see that in the same perspective they do, and they're not getting out the same opportunity. But they're gonna have to do it sometime because it's making it look bad on the sport, even though the sport's not doing the sport's doing their job, but the companies aren't.
Yeah, that's kind of, I guess, a bigger problem and a bigger picture problem. The marriage between corporations and sport. I think there are two very different things. I think sport, like you said, especially in racing, I guess, tends to be more open to diversity and that type of thing. Whereas corporations, depending on their stance, might not be as open to that as racing would be. So I think that could play a part in it as well.
Yeah.
Shall we move it on to our next topic?
Next topic, NASCAR at COTA. What's your thoughts of should have canceled a race, or was it just too rainy for you? I mean, in my opinion, to be honest, I think it was a good idea, but just like with F1 and other series, when it gets too much rain, you're gonna have to stop it sometime.
Again, yeah, at that point there was quite a lot of rain on the track, so I can understand why they did it. However, I will say I feel like there might be one or two other things they could do to the cars to help reduce the amount of spray. Like again, this might be a really stupid idea, but like rain flaps or mud flaps, especially for like Bristol dirt race and road courses, if you know there's a threat of weather, like just just a little flap that sits right behind the rear tires. Excuse me. And because if you look at the back of a current cup car, it is very open. Like you can literally see the fuel tank underneath it. That is just asking for spray to get sent to the sky.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
if you have a flap down there, it completely reduces the amount of spray coming off the cars, and visibility would be a lot better. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect for a torrential downpour like we had at Texas this weekend, but it would at least help.
Yeah, and I think the other thing you have to kind of, maybe not obviously for just race alone, because I think this first race, to your point, is kind of like a learning experience for NASCAR.
Mhm.
I think it's probably the best situation they probably could have asked for, because not only did they get experience at a big racetrack, a big road course for NASCAR itself, but it also opened up the door for rain development, like you mentioned, the mud flaps, maybe more advanced rain tires of that type of nature. So I think this race, although obviously it frustrated a lot of fans, including myself, admittedly, that ended that early, I think it was a great opportunity for NASCAR as a corporation for upcoming races, and, uptaking technologies and that type of thing. So I think, again, it was frustrating. I think a lot of people were, maybe not the drivers, but I think all in all, it was a good experience.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. I think especially with the NASCAR, the next year's car, as we call it, the next gen, as we see, they have diffusers. I hope they use more and utilize that for, say for instance, road course if it does rain. I think it'll be more helpful with the rain diversion and putting out different directions. I think also,
The diffuser will naturally help out with that a lot.
yeah. I just think also the other issue was the fog. As we were seeing what Harvey was saying, he could barely see a thing. I think what was happening since
That wasn't fog. That was literally all spray
no, I was just
coming off
saying
the tires.
I was just saying with the temperature differences. I was went out because I'm not that far from Austin. I live in Houston now. We did have the same issue when it was raining. It started making mist, just a little mist that you could really see. But if you look through a glass or anything behind you, could tell the difference that you can't see a thing at all. I just think
Yeah.
I just think with this, when they start to get to that level, you're gonna have to pause the race for a bit and then see if it doesn't fix itself, then you can stop it, which they did. I think it just went a little too far because it was getting pretty bad, as we saw with the Cole Custer wreck with Truex.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
You're back.
Yeah, I'm back in here, and y'all talking about Coda for NASCAR.
Yeah.
It was entertaining while watching that race, but yeah, I do think like they need to really think about if it rains there again. It's visibility. Yeah, it was not
It's highly
good.
likely since it's Coda. It rains a lot here in Texas sometimes during this time of season.
Yeah.
It might just be a simple matter of we move it to a different spot on the schedule.
Yeah, the best time would probably be summer. I mean, it would be super hot, but it would be worth not getting that type of rain.
Yeah. And obviously, you can almost make the argument that. Go ahead.
Either that or make it a playoff race in the fall.
Ooh, I don't know
Like
about
Texas
that.
used to be.
Well,
Well, then you got snow.
Adding on to that though, and hear me out on this. NASCAR Formula One doubleheader.
That would be perfect.
That's what I was thinking.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah. I don't see a problem with that at all. I think that'd be a great,
especially if F1
initiative
goes
for both
first.
leagues.
Yeah, especially if F1 goes there first, NASCAR has the learning experience. If anything happens, they can see it for themselves, basically.
And
no, I'm saying the same weekend.
Oh, same weekend.
Well, yeah, I was
Yes.
kind of thinking
Same
that
weekend, both races.
yeah, because I think if that happens, especially like you said, Powers, if Formula One goes first, you'd already have like a massive amount of rubber on the track. You'd
Mhm.
have even more grip for those corners. I don't know, obviously, how rain will play a factor, if that was a factor, if Formula One went first and they were using the rain tires, how much that would affect the grip. But yeah, I think that could definitely add a new kind of layer to that.
Yeah, I think if they
The-
do go the same day, I think NASCAR will have to push it just a little bit back, just a little bit. And NASCAR Formula One has to be a little early because they have to get the pit walls and stuff up like that. I think they can
Yeah.
do it
Yeah,
pretty quick.
I was gonna say that would probably be the only issue with that is the matter of NASCAR would need the pit wall there, and Formula One obviously can't. So
Yeah.
it would be interesting to see how they would pull that off, but I would buy tickets almost immediately for that.
Yes.
Oh,
Run
that'll be a
NASCAR
great
on
day.
Saturday right after Formula One qualifying, and then Formula One Grand Prix on Sunday.
Be perfect.
That you got yourself a one hell of a weekend right there.
Oh yeah.
Then combine that with whatever music concert they've got going on
They play the
at the
whole
track
weekend.
that Formula One always does there.
Mm-hmm.
You've got yourself one hell of a weekend.
Oh
Definitely.
yeah.
That would-
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would mean, but that would also mean they might have to move the Xfinity and truck race if truck and Xfinity are going
If
to
they're
be
doing
there.
a Formula One doubleheader, forget about the Xfinity and Truck Series. They're
I
not
agree. They
running
have more
that
tracks to
weekend.
run. They have more tracks to run.
Yeah, they got other road courses.
Exactly.
Have them
Yeah.
run
They
somewhere
go
Yeah.
out
else.
in the
Oh yeah,
entire
that's true.
Mid-Ohio.
That is true.
And I mean, it's not
What
like
the-
they run every weekend anyway, so it's like
Exactly.
They don't run every weekend anyway, and there are weekends where Cup is in, like, say, New Hampshire, Xfinity is over in Iowa.
right.
Well, that was also when they were what was it Pocono or Michigan? I think it was sometimes where one weekend where Xfinity was in Iowa and then like Cup was in Michigan one week on Sunday.
Yeah, that's fine. If Cup runs the same weekend, which is most likely towards the end of the season, because that's when F1 tends to come to Coda. That's when the schedule differs with Xfinity and Cup. That's fine. Run Cup Series on a Saturday. That's fine with me.
Yeah, I think that would be a great initiative for NASCAR. Imagine having
Or
that.
alternatively, and this could be a really, really bad idea in terms of just cost, but who says we can't light up a road course?
Yeah.
Coda's
Yeah.
really hard to light up.
Night NASCAR night race Sunday after the Formula One race at Coda.
They'd have to. I think they would have to install more lights.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what it's referring to.
obviously there's quite a bit of lighting that would need to go
Yeah.
on, and that's
Or call me
very
crazy.
expensive.
That's
Gen
what they
But-
pay for.
Gen 3 NASCARs with headlights question mark.
Hey, that'd be a good idea as well. Just for a night
I'm
race.
thinking Gen
Just for a
7,
night race, we could
maybe
run
start
lights. That's
having-
fine.
Gen 7 with headlights.
Well-
I think I would like that.
It could
Here's
be
the
a
issue with the head.
Light bars,
Here's the
you know?
issue with
Like, it doesn't
headlights,
have to be
though.
anything crazy.
Here's the issue with headlights, though. It would need to be mounted inside the car and not where with a traditional headlight spots.
Well, right, that's what I'm
Because if
saying.
you remember, if you think back to the Cole Custer wreck, you would have shattered glass all over the track then.
That is
Yeah.
true. I mean, we
You
could.
could you could go old school and have the tape X's over them, you know?
I mean, the cars.
Even then, that didn't really work back then. It helped. It didn't really work though.
I mean, NASCAR running at night, that could work if we run light bars, like how GT3 has in the grill, but I don't know how that would work. I mean, the damage model might be a little bit different for the next gen cars. We don't know.
Actually, hey, that's a good point though. NASCAR tested with underglow during the All-Star race last year.
Yeah.
Why not like different version of underglow and let the manufacturers like choose where the light, like the LED lights would go on the front bumper?
And what
that'd be a
color
good
they
idea.
would? And what color they would be too?
Probably yellow, so you can actually see.
Yeah.
I don't think they would do yellow. I think it would be white because if you think back to like
It would have to be a pretty
endurance
bright
racing,
color, pretty much.
if you think back to endurance racing though, they used to do like white and yellow headlights to signify the different classes and whatnot.
Yeah.
and it would actually give one class a much bigger advantage over the other in terms of
Right.
lighting during
Yeah.
the night portions, because yellow tint or just any color tinted headlights immediately reduces like the range that the driver can see.
That is true. Probably white. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. Just go with the generic LED lights.
Plus,
But
they can
like
get what lights
if
are
you
in that class.
but like I'm just thinking of like for instance like the Ford.
Yeah.
What they could do is like you know like how RTR has like those like lights inside the front grille.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ford could do that, and it would look absolutely insane.
Oh yeah.
I think it would just be a very creative race, like as you're saying for a night race. I think that would bring out more creativity for the manufacturers. To be honest.
Yeah. Have like rule it in such a way that if you had like unapproved like light changes, like maybe too bright lights or something like that, you could do it like that so no one goes crazy and it has like I don't know, like boat lights in their car. I'm not saying I would, but
I think it would be nice to actually see that, and maybe if they can't see, they could possibly do like F1 might do next year, put lights in the rims. I don't know. Do old Indy. I don't know.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, we can move on to the next thing if you like.
Yeah,
Sure.
Go for it.
What's the next upcoming races? It was the Miami full event and Sebring.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
Yes. So, Sebring, both of which are still. Actually, no, those are not the next couple events coming up.
Next month.
Next race. Well, yeah, those are next month, but the nearest races for GRL would be Formula E
Yeah, tomorrow.
Friday,
Oh, yeah.
Yes Marina South,
I'll figure that
Yes
out.
Marina South, and it would be Corvette Cup on Saturday at
Mhm.
Indianapolis,
Indeed.
I think. I believe that's correct.
Before we go there, I do want to ask about your team. What's the name of your team that you just started for NASCAR?
Oh yeah. So, AR Motorsport. Just want to say, for our first race, I'm very happy with our top 5.
Sorry, my bad. That's my mic. Aaron?
I think Aaron, you there?
I think his audio might have cut out for a second. Let's wait for him.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it was just what was it? But yeah, his AR team. I mean, pretty decent sign in racing Jason.
Oh yeah.
I think especially for season 2, he'll be a title contending team.
Yeah. I think teams have been a relatively new kind of idea into the GRL world. Especially on this big of a scale. Obviously PMR just started with big hopes.
My team, obviously.
Yeah, your
Yeah,
team
of
as
course.
well. Yeah,
But yeah,
fixed back.
I
Yes,
think
fixed
that'll
back.
add a lot of prosperity and kind of excitement to the GRL world, especially if these teams do kind of pan out as they kind of seem like they want to. Yeah, I think they could just be a big part of GRL.
I think
Apologies for that. My Discord died.
Oh,
You're good. You're good.
So, what bit did my mic cut out on for you guys?
you
It
said
was
something about
top
you
5.
said something about Jason getting a top 5 for you.
Yeah, okay, great. So, Jason got a top 5 with 103-degree fever.
Yeah, he Michael Jordan that race. That was pretty
Yeah, he did.
impressive.
He really should not have been running that. I was talking with him after, and he said, "Yeah, no, dude, I've 103-degree fever. I went through like 3 water bottles or something." And I was immediately telling him, like, "Dude, we can have this conversation later. Like, debrief the race later. Get off the fucking call. Go hydrate and rest."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some Superman race right there. He just got up and decided to race, even though he's like he just I'm gonna pull it off anyways. He did pretty well start from the back and drive up to the top five. I knew he could possibly got in the top three, but um, it's
Yeah,
just the
he
circumstances
had the pace for top three. It's just again,
running low on
hell,
laps.
if it weren't for that favor, I feel like he probably could have won that race as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, I think
I
the
know
other
he's
thing you kind of got to talk about in that race was the so-called ghost caution that happened
Oh
about
boy.
with 10 laps to go.
Oh yeah. So
Uh,
for the
yeah, go
audience
ahead.
that doesn't know what we're on about, uh, we don't know who. I actually might. We think we might know who. I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember off the top of my head. Someone had called that there was a 3-car pileup somewhere on track. Caution was immediately called, and I guess they never double and triple checked because apparently they had said that the driver who was running second at the time had spun and collected 2 other drivers, which never happened. So we
That
don't really
def
know what happened. We can only assume that the driver did this to try to gain a couple positions in the final few laps.
Yeah.
yeah.
So hopefully that issue has been resolved. I
That was
believe there's been an update in terms of like rules across all of GRLs regarding phantom cautions and regarding
yeah.
like a points penalty or something, but
Yeah.
I mean,
we'll
this
see.
is this is not the first time. Last week before this, we had a parking in the middle of the track issue, which was something we should resolve, but I think we
It
fixed that.
was which race was that? Corvette Cup or
Yeah, the
I
race that
believe
didn't
yeah.
save.
so the reason with Corvette Cup why that wasn't a penalty was because I don't believe he ever came to a complete stop.
He
He
did.
was just going at about oh he did?
Hmm. I was
Well,
watching it for like 15 seconds.
or the ruling was that because he was right up against the inside wall
He
and
wasn't
like
either. The
was
thing
well
is, he didn't get a penalty because we didn't discuss it in driver's chat. That's why he didn't get a penalty.
Well, yeah. And I mean,
We didn't have an exact
obviously,
rule for
yeah,
it.
we didn't have any rules in place or didn't have the position to kind of make that call at that time.
It was kind of a loophole at that point.
Yeah.
the
But
thing to
that's
keep
been
in
fixed
mind
now.
the thing to keep in mind is with that strategy is it's been used in endurance racing for since the concept started. If you go back to like the very first Daytona 24 hour, it was Dan Gurney who had pulled off that strategy because he had a electrical issue and was losing electricity, but he had such a massive lead over everyone that with about a minute to go or so in the race, he would have had 2 lap. He was approaching the start finish line, knew that there was still time left to go, so he went all the way up against the outside wall and stopped.
The thing is, the
Mm.
difference with his,
Cut off the engine, and then once time had expired, restarted the engine, coasted across the line, and still won the race.
the issue is what we have is he didn't have damage, and we know that's how Forza works. If you have damage, that's fine,
Well,
understandable. He had no
it,
damage. He could have made a pit stop a
it was a
lap
fuel
ahead.
issue.
No, the
It was a
thing is with
fuel issue.
the fuel
Well, if
issue, we
even if he
resolved.
had pitted, he would have dropped back though.
No, he would have still been ahead. He was a complete minute ahead of second place. He had this for like many laps. He could have pitted, and we solved that issue. If it towards the end of the race and your pit stops kind of ended, no, not ended, but your strategy's kind of bad and you can't make it on time, which he still could have made one lap like how he did then. He only stopped for 15 seconds. He still would have made it before the that still been race end if he just did the whole lap. Um,
Oh.
the issue with the fuel issue, we solved that. If you're low on fuel and you still had time to make it, which I counted, if he crossed the line and still finished the lap, the race would have ended.
Yeah.
So we kind of solving with that issue. If you do, like I said, for instance, like Nürburgring, there's a lot of runoff at turn one. You can park there, that's fine, but don't park on the main straight, especially if you're towards the middle of the track.
Yeah. I think his was obviously more of a one-off situation. I think it will be now at least.
Yeah.
Whoops.
I guess
Um,
personally, I just don't have a problem with it. If he's far enough off the racing line, which
yeah,
he was,
absolutely.
like
Out of the picture, he was in the middle of the track.
he
That's all.
I don't know what camera angle you were seeing, but when I had gone past him, he was still in the process of moving over, but I could tell he was moving all the way over.
I was on his lock-on cam, like when you're broadcasting. I took a snapshot then. Literally
Oh.
2 cars. If you have it 3 wide, he would have been in the middle of the road. The track is literally 5 wide. I measured after the race is 5 wide. If you put 5 cars across.
Either way.
Yeah, I mean, I
Um,
don't know. I think the biggest thing with that is more of a problem of his and strategy.
Yeah.
I think, like you were saying with like the 24 hours thing, I think it's a similar situation, but
Not similar, yeah.
yeah. But I think that was kind of poor planning on his part.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know if he could have made it, if he thought he could have made it, or even had a chance of doing that. But I think that's the risk you take when you take that type of strategy. And when that happens, you just kind of have to, take the good with the bad and do your due diligence as a driver, not to ruin anyone else's race.
Or don't ruin your own pit at the last lap and let Aaron win.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I was gonna get to that. In fairness to Jason, because I really should not have won that race. I qualified on pole just because I pulled a lap out of my ass or whatever. But I had dropped down to like 4th or so. Got past one of them on merit because he decided to stay out and just yeah. But there was one guy who was leading and dominated the GT field that lagged out. And then Jason pitted on the last lap because he didn't know it was the last lap and thought we were still going.
yeah.
So, I mean, obviously I'll take wins whenever I can get them,
Yep.
but I really should not have won that one.
A win's a win's a win.
Yep.
That's all I gotta say.
If we want to move this conversation onto the Homestead race coming up, however,
Yeah, we can.
June 12th, 400 miles, 267 laps. We're estimating it to be about 4 hours. Race starts lobby opens at around 6 or 6:30 Eastern on Saturday. That I'm really looking forward to that one.
Same.
I feel like it's going to be a very hard fought battle, especially for the championship between Emu and Bud Boy.
Yeah.
Because I know Bud Boy has brought it down to within 40 points. So there is a chance that Bud Boy still wins this championship.
Yeah.
However, that said, he's going to have to finish well ahead of Emu here. And Emu, I believe, only needs to finish top 15 or so in order to win this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's mentioned this or what his feelings are on it, but Emo is actually going to summer camp this summer.
He might not make the race, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know what the
Really?
situation is there or when he goes off to that, but that could be a
Do you
potential
know what day he
storyline.
leaves for that? Or?
That's what I'm saying. I do
Doesn't
not know
specify.
any further information about that, but who who knows what could happen there.
So, well, providing Emu actually shows up, I feel like he will win the championship. But the championship's going to be decided on whether or not he's able to make it. Essentially, is what this comes down to. Because personally, I feel
Yeah.
like he will have the pace to beat Bud Boy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if he doesn't show up, then that Bud Boy has won this championship.
Mm-hmm.
Providing he finishes well enough to outscore whatever remaining points there are.
Yeah, I think regardless with
Because
how
if he's
long,
outside the top 10, I don't think he can beat Emu even then.
yeah,
He
I think
needs like a
regardless,
top 10 at least, maybe even a top 5.
I think even if Emu's there, I think with how long this race is, anything can happen. Not to say anything can happen in
Oh,
any
yeah.
other race, but even more so in this race. I mean,
And
the pit
especially
strategy
considering
and
that
the
it's Homestead,
cautions. Yeah,
especially considering it is Homestead,
And it's
a
4 hours
lot
this time.
of the guys who only run the ovals will be here.
yeah,
I fully
Including
expect
me,
this race.
obviously.
I fully expect this race to be in like completely packed up,
oh yeah.
like
Yeah.
full lobby, no questions asked. It's gonna be. It'll probably end up being me and Powers the only two commentators that are in the lobby itself.
Yeah.
The only thing I will say is that Powers, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Mhm.
I thought there was a Tora race happening that same day. Or am I
Yeah, there
thinking
Oh,
is.
something
yeah.
That's
else?
why I asked
Yeah.
earlier because Tora Le Mans is that same day. It runs
Tora
through
Le
Yeah.
Mans
that day
is
and the
the
13th.
12th. You sure
Yeah.
that's you sure
I
that's
think
June?
so. Let me check on
Yeah.
their Instagram.
I'm
Yeah, they
pretty
run
sure I
the
heard that
12th
was
and the
July.
13th. Is it 20? I believe
That-
if I'm looking at it right. Let me look on here.
I'm pretty sure Tora
Virtual.
Le Mans is July.
Yeah, but
July 11th,
well, my
actually.
time it would start.
Yeah, it is
8
July.
a.m.
Okay.
to
July
8
Alright.
11th at
It is
Watkins
July.
Glen.
I was wrong on that. I apologize.
Yeah,
But
there's.
So Tora is not running that day.
yeah. All right. So yeah, it's still on. It's yeah. Without that, it's gonna be huge, like you said.
I think.
Now it will be interesting to see. I think this race will definitely test some of our newer racers, or even more some of our experienced racers, their grit and how bad they want it. Because I think if it gets bad enough, you could see some people leaving. Unfortunately,
I think also because of Forza servers, I think
Yeah.
we're gonna see a lot
Right.
of blackouts, especially how long this race will be.
yeah, definitely.
I will say I've done one proper endurance race. Well, I've done multiple endurance races. I've done one that's gone in excess of 5.5 hours
Jeez.
at the Nürburgring. I don't expect this race to be longer than that. And fortunately, in that race, we didn't have any lag outs.
Hmm.
That's
However,
good.
that said, the lobby size for that was never larger than 8.
Hmm.
So we will see. The server, whatever server Forza puts us on for this race,
Please be
is
good.
going to be pushed. But
oh yeah.
again, providing Emu shows up, I have faith in his internet connection. If someone like Bud Boy or Ogre has to host, then we might have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think also
But
with seeing how long that race will be, I think. I hope that it's not a caution fest. That I think that will also hinder
Well,
the server.
you say that. Last time we were at this track,
Oh boy.
we nearly broke the record for number of yellows we had.
And it was a shorter race,
Yeah.
which made no sense.
We had 15 cautions, nearly matching our Daytona record of 17 during whatever event that was.
I think it was
And that race is about a third of the length of this one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what the Homestead one, we were running less laps in that Daytona race that we had, which made no
Yeah.
sense how we got so close to the caution count.
Yeah. The good things that we do have going for us though, the car count is now gone,
Mm-hmm.
so it will be proper actual wrecks that have to bring out cautions, which we didn't have too many of, despite other than the ones that were on restarts from people being way too aggressive.
And which was solved
Yeah.
with the single file issue that we have now. The single file, I
Hopefully-
think,
Yes.
brought it down.
Single
Hopefully with-
file will definitely help. Personally, I think that we need to. I'm gonna talk with Emu about this. I personally think that all GRL series should be using a dedicated restart zone of some sort that is clearly marked,
Yeah.
so that way leader has a chance to at least pull away a little bit over the guys behind him, just so that way not everyone is completely bunched up. Because if we remember back to the Formula E race at
Yep.
Long Beach,
Mhm.
that's the entire reason why the final few laps were just complete wreckfest was because people were still accelerating to catch up to leaders who were going slow and then accelerating when they got to the line. And so people who were further back in the pack could just stay on throttle and they'd have so much momentum that they'd be knocking on the door of the top 5 after restarting 10th.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
an issue we do need to solve, especially if we go to Long Beach. Say, for instance, we do IndyCar. I think what we need to do is do a pull off to the right side, bring down the field to the speed of the hairpin where everyone's coming at. Because I saw that a lot of leaders going just over the average just a tad bit, pulling the field ahead like 5 to 10 cars, and then the rear field like 10th on back is just accelerating completely. As you were saying with the Long Beach race, I think that would be an issue if we do have tracks where it's like the last corner is really close, like Virginia. We had that kind of an issue at Porsche, but not really that bad.
Again, we'll
Yeah.
see. Again, most of these issues are solved with a restart zone, but again.
I think the only problem with the restart zones is, I mean, it's kind of a universal problem that is, especially in GRO, has been jumping the restarts. Clutch versus which is manual. I think definitely plays a part in that. But yeah, that's the only problem you're gonna face with that type of thing, unfortunately.
Well,
Also,
if it's
leaders not
clutch
calling
versus
it either.
Yeah.
yes, obviously leader still needs to call it, but if it's a matter of clutch versus manual, there's not really much we can do for the people who are
Yeah, no,
decide to use
absolutely not.
manual, because
Yeah.
it's like you're hurting yourself by using manual instead of using clutch.
Yeah.
So, clutch is so worth it when it comes to most cars in Forza. So
Especially with NASCAR, yeah. If you're going on a
yeah,
restart.
unless you're in cars like LMP1s, some LMP2s, and
Formula
like
E.
Formula One cars, Formula E, sure, because it's only one gear, and like IndyCar, then yeah, clutch isn't really worth it. But even things like the prototypes in the 80s IMSA series, you have to use clutch because otherwise the shift time is so slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you might want to fix your mic because you're also having the background audio.
Yeah, you're echoing a lot.
Sorry.
Do you guys want to get into who you think's probably going to win Homestead? Or
Oh, yeah.
is it still too early to call?
For me, I know our own PMR. My higher hopes are for Pat's boy. But I think it will come down to Astro if he ever shows up, my other PMR driver. Frodo or Jason. Or maybe not Kobe all the way. He did first time he came in, just went out of nowhere. Or we can have a surprise win.
And it was at Homestead as well.
Yeah, it's
Last time
game
we
at
were
this
here,
point.
Kobe did win.
Now's his debut.
So, yeah.
It's
So
anyone's
it'll
game.
be interesting.
We've had quite a
Personally,
few new drivers win.
Obviously, you can't really ignore the names of Astro, Frodo, and Jason. Those just simply are the 3 quickest guys in the GRL NASCAR Cup Series right now. But when it comes to Homestead, I know there are a bunch of others that are really quick. Your people like Kobe, maybe to a slightly lesser extent, Time Galaxy, Towers. Who else?
Larry, if he ever shows up too.
Lynx, Larry, Ogre, if he decides to run, they are all also fairly competent when it comes to running Homestead. I've had the privilege of racing them in just regular private lobbies where we've all just been fooling around. And while I can certainly keep up with them and sometimes beat them, they are still very quick. So we will see. Yeah, judging by how closely matched our top 3 are, I feel like they are the ones with the best shot at winning. However, if we do get a surprise winner from one of the other names mentioned, I wouldn't be entirely surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like I mentioned. Go ahead.
Especially considering how aggressive 2 of those 3 are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Astro is probably the most calm driver out of those 3. Like, I'm trying to think of he is the who's a good example to use?
Let me think. Probably Matt
I
Kenseth. I
want-
don't know.
I was gonna say definitely not Matt Kenseth.
He's not-
I was gonna say he's
don't know.
either the Chase Elliott or Martin Truex Jr. of our top three.
Probably true.
Fast, but keeps it clean and prefers to not use the bumper.
Yeah.
That's what I
You
was
could
saying,
also
like,
throw
old Matt, he
you
didn't
could
do
also
that.
probably throw Denny Hamlin's name into that list that Astro could represent.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like,
Um,
old Matt didn't really put people in bumper. Just seriously just drove his race.
People are probably gonna hate me for saying this, and I know Jason's probably not gonna be entirely happy with me saying it like this, but he's probably our Joey Logano of the
No, that's
three.
Frodo.
Oh.
That's Frodo.
Because no, hear me out. The way Joey drives is it's aggressive, but he knows when to be aggressive. Like he's not constantly
Yeah.
aggressive all the time. And he won't
Yeah.
go absolutely dumping. I
Yeah,
can't.
that's true.
I'm and it's
That's true.
he's able to control his aggression. Frodo now, that's
Kyle Busch.
yes. That's
Yeah.
your Kyle Busch.
You're
Your 20
taking out.
I should also clarify, your 2012 Kyle Busch.
Oh yeah,
Fast and extremely aggressive with no filter.
and he'll take you out
Yeah.
and himself if he has to.
And
Now,
yeah, the
note
thing I
that
was
it
gonna,
said 2012 Kyle Busch and not the current Kyle Busch because the current Kyle Busch can't drive. There, I
Yeah.
said it.
the thing you gotta mention about Frodo too, is that he does have some penalty issues.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which
Which most
was at
certainly
Miami as
cost
well.
him the champion.
Yeah,
His penalties most certainly cost him this championship because he
Yeah.
for sure was in the hunt for this,
He
and
could have
then
dominated.
just from he absolutely could have, and he showed up late even as well. I'm in a call right now. I'm sorry.
I know, but I need to go.
Okay.
Anywho, yeah, kind of continuing what he was saying. Yeah, Frodo is when he wants to, he can turn it on. He can absolutely dominate any given race. He's just, gotta get some character issues fixed. And yeah, he will dominate. You just gotta get those issues fixed. That's all.
Yeah, as we saw before he left GTA, he will even take out his own teammates if he has to. We remember that
Yeah.
Homestead race he took out Astro, even though he has
All
better
right,
chance
sorry
to
about
take
that.
No, go. It's fine. It's fine.
But yeah, just listening to what you were saying, yeah, Frodo is definitely the most aggressive of the three,
Definitely.
Yeah.
and most certainly had a shot at winning this championship, but penalties got the better of him.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Maybe he'll fix those things. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe next season will probably be better. But I
Yeah.
think the competition as well next season will be a lot higher, as we're seeing. Everyone is improving because they're having more time to do it. Yeah, you've seen in some of the chat saying they're working more on lap times. I think next season will probably be the best. Well, not the best, but the best we've seen regarding to NASCAR. Definitely.
Yeah,
Especially
I
with
think
the
so
promotions.
too. Obviously, Giro, this is only their first year in existence. So I think for all series, this is kind of just
A
a
learning curve.
big learning experience for all the series owners and series racers. So I think hopefully the thought is that these racers and these series will only get better from here on out.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else?
So, my question, I've actually got a question.
Okay.
Do we know what series is replacing NASCAR right now, or no?
Um,
Not for
I've
sure.
heard
yeah,
I've
not for
heard
sure yet.
rumors of an IndyCar series, but nothing's been confirmed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
IndyCar, we've been off and on thinking about it for months. I actually tried October to start one and see how it went, but owner Panda didn't really see it working at the time, especially NASCAR at the time. We'll have to see. It's either NASCAR, not NASCAR, IndyCar, or probably another endurance series. I don't know how that would work with 80s IMSA.
I doubt it would be another endurance series. I know there was a vote recently about the next series that starts, but it would be a short one, is what it was.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure,
just
Bash.
summer event mini series type of
It
thing.
was a summer event and a mini series, and then the next main series was rumored to be IndyCar, from what I heard.
Right.
So, summer event, correct me if I'm wrong, was it an Indy 500?
Yeah, I think an Indy 500.
Believe
the
so, yes.
That's what it was. Yes, the summer event was an Indy 500, and then
Yeah, F1, classic F1.
yes, classic F1. It was 90s F1 that won
Yep.
the vote,
I
which
think it might tease
I'm
to
actually
IndyCar.
really
I don't know.
I'm actually really excited for the 90s F1 stuff.
Yeah.
Those are cars that
Dang.
I'm actually
And
really
I think it's
strong
at
in.
the Indy
So.
GP as well.
Yep. And I think we're having a
For
V8
the IndyCar series
supercars.
or the mini series for Formula 1?
Formula 1 at NDGP, 90s F1.
Ah, okay. So wait, is that a one-off event
It'll be
or
a one-off right before
is it?
the Indy 500.
So it's not a proper series. It's just
Just an
another.
event. Yeah.
It's a separate event.
Mhm.
Okay.
No.
Yeah,
I think
I would like to have 90s F1 actually be a series in this.
I would love to see it too, honestly.
We'll have to see how
Like
most
if
of the
any of the
drivers.
Formula One cars we could possibly have, it would be 90s or even the 70s F1 cars.
Yes,
Yeah.
that could be
That would-
90s.
My question regarding the 90s F1 stuff is, what are they doing for builds? Because I've checked the upgrade stuff. There's nothing you can really do to those cars other than
Yeah.
rims and throw on drag tires.
Yeah, just drive
Yeah.
it as is. Really, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think you
what I
need
was
to
thinking.
change it.
But my concern is I'm not sure if the two cars in that series, the Ferrari and the McLaren, are balanced to each other.
Yeah, the McLaren doesn't have as much downforce because it's the 89 McLaren and the 91
Well, yeah,
Ferrari has more downforce.
It's a 90 and Ferrari.
Not only is the Ferrari like more downforce, it's also faster in a straight line, I'm pretty sure.
No, it's faster in acceleration, but the McLaren is overall top speed.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
We have to figure out how to slow down the Ferrari just a little bit or speed up the
So-
McLaren, one of the two.
So I have a suspicion that might end up becoming a Spectoon series.
I think
It
that'll be
could.
fine. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean we'll see.
Especially with
Yeah.
IndyCar, I think it might. The Indy 500 might tease to IndyCar. I think, depending how the race goes, I think maybe it will go to IndyCar.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is I've had a paint made on my IndyCar for a couple months now, and I've been dying to use it. So
Yeah. I actually started I think my esports racing career in IndyCar.
Same, I
I
had an
think that
IndyCar
is
series as well.
yeah, I think that was the first thing I started racing. Think.
I've been looking around ever since I started like doing this properly. I've been looking for a decent IndyCar series, and I just have not found one.
On VER.
Yeah.
There's some fastest
Like-
drivers out there.
It's all been like people trying to throw together one like really quickly, and it's just not organized or anything
Yeah.
like that.
I don't think I've been in an IndyCar series more than 2 months.
Yeah, that's how long my server lasted. I mean, it was pretty decent, but I think if you want
Yeah.
to do IndyCar, join Velocity Endurance Race. Have a IndyCar series they're going. Just that they're super
Yeah.
fast. It's hard for me to keep up. I don't have a lot of experience in Forza, so.
If JRL does do an IndyCar series, though, I feel like it would be pretty popular.
Yeah,
I think so
I'm
too.
quite sure to especially go from NASCAR to IndyCar, and plus it'll be a little bit closer field, not people that are doing world record lap times. I'm just saying in VER they have people that are just doing super fast times, and then the rest of the field is like,
Yeah.
The only thing I will say about IndyCar is that I mean, not to be a Debbie Downer or anything, is that could be even more of a caution fest.
it depends.
I actually don't think so. In the few IndyCar races I've done, people are typically a lot more relaxed and like more cautious when it comes to making moves because keep in mind these things are a lot better under the brakes.
True.
So and that typically tends to be where the cautions come from in like NASCAR is just people trying to send it up the inside, and with IndyCar you're on ovals, you are constantly flat out on this game, and
Yeah.
when it comes to road courses, you're able to make those dive bombs stick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
So-
think also because with the speed difference with IndyCar, I think people have more. I don't know. I mean, some servers is okay, but I think overall, I think people know the difference in speed. They're gonna take moves and take their chances when they need to, not just take someone out completely as they're seeing NASCAR.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think
Just a
that's
topic of discussion.
Mhm.
All right.
I think that's all I have for today.
All right. That was
Got it
good.
for me as well.
We did pretty
So-
well. 1 hour and 20 minutes. Not bad.
All right.
All right.
How this went, I'll continue this. We'll do episode 2 maybe next week. It's up to y'all.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Same here.
Might end up needing to be 2 weeks just because I'm not sure how many stories are going to pop up, but we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like a plan. We'll see.
Uh,
All right.
Everyone,